Hello, everybody, and welcome to another game news roundup. Let's keep this one less rambly than usual and jump right into the fact that Sony, I realized it was last week, they released their earnings report, and the PS5 has shipped over 80 million units as of June 30th, 2025. More specifically, 80.3 million PS5s have been shipped. Obviously, there's a difference between sell-through and shipped. Usually 3 to 4 months lag, give or take, behind where when things get shipped and when they're eventually sold. 3 to 4, maybe 5 months, depending on the time of year. So our sell-through estimates at VG Charts have sell-through a bit lower at 77.41 million as of July 5th, 2025. But of course, whatever gets shipped will eventually be sold within the next, as I said, usually 3 to 4 months, give or take. Just as a heads up. And for the quarter, 2.5 million PS5s were shipped. So from April, May, and June, 2.5 million PS5s were shipped, which is actually up compared to the same quarter last year when 2.4 million units were shipped. So it's not a big increase, but generally speaking, with how old the PS5 is, we're at the point where usually shipment-wise things decrease a bit year over year. We're usually at that point, but nope. Now, for the latest quarter, shipment figures were up 100,000 units. Now, to compare, the PS4 shipped 3.2 million units for the same equivalent quarter in its lifetime, and it had shipped 82.4 million units lifetime as of June 30th, 2018. That does put the PS5 currently shipment-wise behind the PS4 by about 2.1 million units. So yeah, the PS5 is still lagging behind the PS4, and it actually fell an extra 700,000 units further behind the PS4 in the latest equivalent quarters. And moving on here, there were a total of 65.9 million games sold on the PS5 and PS4 for the quarter. Sony has been combining game sales between their both latest consoles. This is actually up year over year, 12.3 million units more than the previous year when 53.6 million games were sold. And digital sales on the PS5 and PS4 game sales, digital-wise, is at 83%. So, if the PS5 and PS4 is 83% digital, at least in the latest quarter, Xbox is probably over 90% at this point. And the Switch 2 is likely over 50%. Likely, but not certain. And of the 65.9 million games sold by PlayStation 5 and 4 for the last quarter, 6.9 million first-party games were sold, which is actually up 900,000 or 0.9 million when 6 million were sold a year ago. There were 123 million monthly active users on the PlayStation Network, which is an increase of 7 million from 116 million a year ago. So the number of active users on the PlayStation Network has increased. Mind you, several PlayStation games on PC do require a PlayStation Network in order to use. At least some of them. I don't think all of them require it, but some of them do. And financially, Sony's Game and Network Services segment, PlayStation, reported revenue increased 71.6 billion yen, or about $500 million year over year. Revenue increased by nearly $500 million to $6.34 billion for the 3-month period, while operating income, basically profits, increased by about the similar amount, actually a little over $500 million, about $560 million US dollars, to $1 billion. So their profits more than doubled year over year to $1 billion US dollars. Again, this is for April, May, and June 2025. And as I've mentioned, shipment-wise, over 80.3 million units. Sell-through-wise, our estimates at VG Charts, 77.41 million units as of July 5th, 2025. Again, sell-through usually lags 3 to 4 months on average behind. It varies, of course. It varies. But usually 3 to 4, maybe 5 months behind before at least with how well it's selling and how much they're shipping. By the time our sell-through will match the previous shipment numbers, because it takes a while for consoles to ship around the world. Obviously, they're manufactured in Asia, so shipping to, say, Japan or China is fairly quick. Well, it takes a lot longer to ship to, say, North and South America, because they go by boat. And then from there, trains to retailers, and et cetera, et cetera. But also on the best sellers list, the PS5 is currently 12th on the best-selling video game platforms of all time. Mind you, even if you input the 80.3 million figure, it would still be in 12th place. Up next for the PS5 is the Game Boy Advance with 81.51 million units. So that will be coming up. Honestly, the PS5 will probably shift up, potentially up to 8th place by the end of the year. Depends how strong sales are during the holidays. So yeah. Which, when I say that 8th place, I mean that would mean passing the Game Boy Advance, the PlayStation Portable, the Xbox 360, and the PS3's 87.4 million units. It should most likely get up to 9th place, surpassing the Game Boy Advance, PSP, and the Xbox 360 by the end of the year. PS3, we will see. If it doesn't make it by the end of the year, it should do it most likely in January, February of next year, the latest. To move up to 8th place and outselling the PS3. Then up after that, it is reaching the 100 million club, with the Wii at 101.63 million, the original PlayStation at 102.49 million, and then of course we got the PS4 at 117.2 million lifetime. And we'll see the PS5, obviously, as I mentioned, shipment-wise, through the same number of quarters, is currently 2.1 million units behind. But to note, there is still a chance the PS5 will, at some point, maybe outsell the PS4. If it doesn't, it'll be close. It's either gonna just miss it or just pass it. The PS4, by the time the PS5 came out, was about 7 years by itself of lifetime. And then quickly, Sony dropped the PS4. I don't expect Sony to drop the PS5 as quickly as it did the PS4. So it might have a longer tail than the PS4 had. And also, potentially, the PS6 might not come out to 2028. The PS4 came out in 2013, the PS5 in 2020, which is 7 years. If it's 7 years for the PS6, that would be 2027. So potentially, with the shortages and the lackluster of late first-party games, potentially they might want to extend the current generation before they release a PS6. But who knows? I'm sure Sony's working out their plans for the next generation. I'm sure so is Microsoft with the next-gen Xbox. Nintendo, probably not at this point. I doubt they're working on whatever it will be. I guess the Switch 3, probably, question mark. But they're probably not really thinking about it that much at this point, because that's probably 7 or 8 years away from release. But definitely the PS6 and the next-gen Xbox are definitely being worked on for sure. Probably figuring out specs. What price range do they want to aim for? We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised. Definitely $500 is probably the minimum we're going to see, and that's with a probably digital version. Not that it really matters, with over 80% of games sold on PS5, PS4, and definitely Xbox are digital. But yeah, that's going to actually do it. I know, right? Oh my goodness. I didn't ramble quite as much as usual. Madness. But if you enjoy this game news roundup, as always, hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you all next time for some more gaming news, gaming sales, and gaming industry information that I find, well, interesting and worthy enough of a video.